Hello and welcome to another episode of the A-10 Insider Podcast here on the Field of 68 Media Network. My name is Rob Dawson. That gentleman you see with me is Jeff Goodman. We're going to be joined here in just a little bit by Kory Mincy, who was one of the more entertaining interviews that I think we've done on this podcast in the years that we have been doing it. And it made sense to have him on
Maybe
now.
ever.
Maybe
Maybe
ever.
ever, Rob.
It made sense to have him on now because George Mason is sitting here at 8-0 right now, one of 25 teams in America that is still undefeated. They're going to start getting into the meat of their schedule here in the coming weeks. They are at Virginia Tech on Saturday, but Mason is one of the best stories in the sport. And I think it kind of sums up where the A-10 is right now, right? Because you look at the rest of the league, the Bonnies just had a great week. They knocked off Florida Atlantic. They're sitting there at 7-1. Davidson is 6-1. Richmond is 6-1. St. Louis is a fluky, ridiculous buzzer beater away from sitting at 7-0 with a win over Stanford. Dayton has a couple of losses on the season, but like there's nothing. They lost by 4 to BYU in a game that they were in until the very end. They beat Georgetown. George Washington is playing well right now. URI is playing right now. So the league right now, Jeff, is in a really, really good spot, especially at the top.
I mean, even VCU, look at it. I get they've got 3 losses, but I saw Utah State. They're really, really good. NC State, obviously, we know what Will Wade is capable of, and then they just lose to a Vanderbilt team that is probably the biggest surprise of the early season other than Michigan. So, yeah, I think the league right now probably is going into December feeling about as good as it has in the last few years. And because everybody, I feel like everybody other than Loyola Chicago is alive right now, feels good about themselves. You know, the only one that's got to figure things out right now is Drew Valentine and the Ramblers. But again, everybody else feels pretty good about the fact that, hey, they've come out of November with a good record, with some good wins for the most part, and especially, you know, a bunch of these teams have good numbers going into December.
Yeah, and that's going to kind of be the thing that we talk a lot about 2-bid A-10, 3-bid A-10. The key is always going to be what some of those teams in the middle of the pack do in non-conference play. And I think that the likes of Davidson winning games and Richmond winning a bunch of games and you know, frankly, George Mason being better than anybody thought there would be. That's the kind of stuff that raises the level of the floor in the league, which puts you in a position where we know that the league has had 2 or 3 teams capable of being a tournament team in recent years, even if they weren't able to get that at-large bid. And now I think that what you're seeing is this group getting put in a spot where you'll be able to really have a legitimate argument because of the body of work that you build in A-10 play. And that stuff really, really matters. Goodman.
And the other part, Rob, is you look around the country and you see the Big East. We're talking about it now, maybe being a 2, 3-bid league. I don't even know who 3 will be. SEC does not look anywhere what it was a year ago when everybody got in the tournament other than South Carolina. So I think you're going to have more bids available here. Again, we'll see how this thing shakes out. But certainly a lot of teams feeling optimistic in the A-10 going into December. That wasn't the case necessarily last year.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot more to get to with this league, and there is going to be plenty to talk about here in the coming season. I'm excited about it, man. I'm really excited about the A-10 Insider Pod and the A-10 conferences here and what we could end up seeing. You know what else I'm excited about? To see this run that Kory Mincy is on. Last week, 3-0 week for the Patriots. He averaged 23 points and shot 48% from 3 and is a terrific interview. Let's hear our segment with Kory Mincy. And now let me welcome on to the A-10 Insider Podcast, none other than George Mason's Kory Mincy, who is currently averaging 19.6 points, 3.5 boards, 3.5 assists for an 8-0 George Mason team. Kory, you're coming off a week. You guys go 3-0. You win MVP of the Sunshine Slam, where you average 23 points per game in a 3-0 week while shooting 53% from the floor and 48% from 3. That's a pretty good week, huh? Pretty good week of hoops.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was just an amazing experience, to go down to Daytona. I've been down there 2 years in a row at my last school because I was at Presbyterian. We was in the CBI 2 years in a row. So, being able to go down there, I had a little familiar situation with the rims and the whole outscape, the whole gym and arena. So being able to go down there and ultimately go, 2-0 and win that, I feel like it was a big deal for George Mason because I was the first MT ever won in George Mason history.
Wow. I did not realize that.
Yes,
Hmm.
sir.
I did realize that you guys are still one of 25 undefeated teams left in the country.
Yeah.
Um, I want to go back though. Go back to kind of your high school days, if I can,
Yes, sir.
and coming out of Tri-Cities High in Georgia. Why you were overlooked a little bit, and I'm not sure even you know that answer. I don't know, but you put up huge numbers there for a
Yes, sir.
5A school. You won, so you know. To me, I'm thinking to myself like you should have went. No disrespect to Presbyterian and Quinton because I love them, but I was surprised that you didn't go to a higher level out of high school. Were
Right.
you? And what do you think the reasons were?
So, around that time, that was the big time when the portal had just came out. The portal it was already out, but that was the biggest year of it. So I had a lot of communication with high major schools and a lot of like high mid-major schools. But once COVID was still dying down and the portal was just getting initiated and guys were able to go play, right after they hit the portal, that kind of died down for me because college coaches didn't want a lot of high school kids straight out of that position. So like you just said, I'm thinking I'm doing amazing numbers in high school in the state of Georgia, where I feel like it's the best state of basketball, in the last 10 years, if you ask me. So it was a long process for me. It was definitely a long process, but just to have Coach Q come down to all my games, at the Lake Point Center down in Emerson, Georgia, and watch me play from 8 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night, it just showed me what I wanted in a coach. And being able to go there and be there my freshman year showed me that that's where I needed to be. I feel like I had the talent to play other places, but I feel like as me being a freshman and still need to learn the game of college, like I started at the right level I was at.
So you came into this program as a transfer, and you were named one of the two captains with Braden O'Connor, who's a returning piece, first team preseason all A-10 guy. What does it mean to you that the new staff, the new players, your new teammates kind of valued you and viewed you in that way?
Yeah, I feel like that's the most amazing thing. A lot of people see what I'm doing on the court, but I feel like right now throughout this whole season, that's the highlight of my season right there. To be a new guy, be able to come in here with a whole bunch of transfer guys and be able to be picked the captain. It just shows how much the team values me and respects me. As a leader, as a captain, and knowing that, a guy like BO, me and him, can just lead our team in so many different ways, especially with him being down right now, knowing that he's still a captain. We hear his voice every single day at practice while he's over there still getting his rehab in. So, I mean, that means a lot to me. That just shows me that the coaches trust me. So, when I go out there and play, I just have the utmost freedom and confidence when I go out there and play because I know, each person in the staff has my back.
When he gets back, what is it going to mean for you guys when Braden comes back?
I mean, it's amazing. It just shows how much depth we already have now. We're off to a high 8-0 start, which we know we're just blessed to be in. But, with him coming back, and if that's able to happen, that would be amazing. Because, I mean, that would just show you like the team we have. I feel like we're already one of the scariest teams already. So just adding back, a first team all conference guy like that, I mean, that just goes to speak for itself.
Give me what has surprised you the most of this team so far. Something that someone or something you may not have been expecting.
The biggest thing is the connectivity. You get a whole bunch of new guys from all over the place, and it's kind of like it's hard to connect in so many different ways. But I've never seen a team gel so well so fast from the aspect of off the court, how we hang out, on the court, how we hang out. I feel like with so many different teams, you have your group, like the point guards may hang with each other, or, this three guys may be with everywhere you go, you see us all with each other. We all can hang out with each other. It's anytime we're getting ready to go somewhere, everybody asks, hey, we're all doing this, let's all go out together. So I feel like when we're out there on the floor, that connectivity juice, we can go out there and even in a serious moment, have a great laugh just to know that we're all connected. So that's why, like in tough moments right now, we've been able to just, stay above water and be in a great spot.
So Kory, you're shooting 97.3% from the free throw line. That's seventh in the country. You're shooting 52% from three, which is 14th nationally, and you're making 3.3 threes per game, which is second in the A-10. I think you are inarguably one of the best shooters in college basketball. So can you tell me, why can't you beat Lou Hennon in a shooting contest?
You know, the, the thing with me is this. I kind of took Lou for granted. When you go in, you see the old man, you try and, you try and give him a little leeway. But then we start shooting. I'm like, yo, this guy is really beating me. Like he is really good. So I go pull up his old highlight tapes, and I'm like, yeah, he kind of schooled me at first. I'm thinking, he just played back in the day at Boston College, but Lou was an amazing shooter. So right now I'm down a couple points. I ain't gonna say how much I'm down, but I done dug myself in a deep hole right now that I'm trying to get out of. So it's a long year. It's a long year.
Yeah, I was told it's an even deeper hole when it comes to Madden against Lamar Butler, though.
Listen. I am still the best Madden player on the team amongst the players, but in the building as of right now, I got some work to do. I got some work to do right now with Lamar, but we're on the way. We're on the way.
Is it true that
Hey,
you lost 10
Quentin,
times in a row?
10, no, 10 is absurd. 10 is absurd. The last time we played, I should have won, but the Wi-Fi was a little sticky, at my
Oh
apartment right now.
no.
So you know how that goes. You know how that
Oh,
goes.
we're blaming the Wi-Fi now.
Yeah,
We're
we
blaming
have
the
to. We have to. We have to. We have to.
hey, I want to know what happened. Rob said your shooting numbers, your
Mhm.
assist to turnover is really good too. Other than that one game,
Yeah.
Catawba got you for 6 turnovers. What's going on here?
And you go into that game with the mindset of, they're a D2 team and coach told us the whole week, don't underlook them, don't overmind them. And as I'm looking at the film, I'm just like, these guys don't really look like a D. Like they look like like they're a D2 team, but they have like a lot of talented guys. And that takes me back to my freshman year. I don't know like if you're familiar with how they play, but they reminded me of Stephen F. Austin.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Heavy in the gaps. I think I had 7 turnovers that game my last year. And
yeah.
they were just heavy in the gaps, all in the way, crowding space. And I think like majority, I think 5 of my turnovers were in the first half just from trying to do too much, trying to just prove a point where I can get by this guy when instead of just making the simplest play. So I feel like in the second half, when I just got back to my ways of making the simplest play, just taking what they give me and just using their aggressiveness to my advantage, things worked out better that way.
So you guys are sitting here at 8-0 now. The last three games, I think, is probably the three best teams you've beaten. As close to it, Ohio, FAU, and James Madison. You got a really nice win at home over a Winthrop team that we know how good they are this year.
Right.
But the schedule now is about to kick up, right? You're at Virginia Tech on Saturday, and then in about 2 weeks, you start A-10 play. How do you keep this rolling, right? How do you guys keep this? Obviously, you're playing great right now, but sometimes the shots are going to stop falling. How do you make sure that you continue to play at this level as we get deeper into the season?
And I feel like that's the best thing you just said. Like the shots will stop falling. A lot of the stuff that has been going our way in so many games. I think out of these 8 games, I don't even think we've trailed in the majority of them. I don't think we've faced a lot of adversity. With Coach Scan yesterday, he felt like the game against James Madison was our first game facing adversity. So we know at any given moment, 8-0 can turn into 8-8 very fast. And I feel like the biggest thing to keep that going is how we practice. How we approach the day and just taking it one day at a time. We know that there's no there's no way we can just go out here and into every game just thinking we're going to make 17 threes, 15 threes. It doesn't work like that. But just knowing our approach to practice and just staying locked into the game plan, going over our scouts, and just going over every little detail that we have throughout the week will continue to prepare us and put us in the best position to win.
What has Tony Skinn taught you so far? I know he's probably again making sure you guys aren't getting too high here.
Right,
Even
right,
even being 8-0 over your first eight
right,
games. What
right.
has he taught you so far?
Tony has taught me so much just from him being at George Mason and, just the history that they've made, getting to the Final Four and, with us being the best start he's had in school history, with Team 60. He just taught like specifically, I won't say just me, but the whole team, how to stay humble, never to be complacent. And I feel like that's the biggest thing. I feel like all of us on the roster, and I think it was a stat like once we were 3-0, only 2 guys on the team were 4-0 until that point, and it was me and Jahari Long. So knowing that this is a position that, not a lot of us have been in, we just have to take it with, stay humble, don't get too complacent because we're in a league where it's up in the air. There are so many great teams and so many great teams we still have to go against in this non-conference. Like you guys said, like we're getting into the deeper thick of teams, and teams are only going to get better at this point. So just remembering what got us here. The hard work every day, being humble. Remember, we were that team that was overlooked in the preseason.
So Coach Skin, right? First year he goes to George Mason, wins 20 games, 9-9 in the league. Second year, 27-9, 15-3, great season, one of the best seasons George Mason's had in a long time. You start out 8-0 this year. What is it about him? Like why is he able to do this? I don't know how many people necessarily thought when he got that job was like, yeah, you know what, he's going to turn George Mason into the best program in the A-10. And here you are, you're in a spot where, you got to be put in that conversation with the teams that were picked above you in the preseason poll. Why?
Right.
Why does it work for him? What makes him so good as a coach?
So when you think of a player's coach, I want you to think of Tony Scannon right away. And it's easy for players to play for a coach who feels like he's one of them. And that's just been the easiest thing with Coach Skin. Like every day in practice, we're in here, it's about business. But within that business, he's able to joke with us, he's able to laugh with us. And then as players, just knowing that every day we can come in and be about business, but know there's somebody that we can connect to from a personal standpoint and just off the court. I feel like that's been the biggest thing with Skin off the court, just being able to communicate with him and talk to him about anything rather than just basketball, to knowing that he feels like a brother off the court, but knowing on the court, this is my coach. And you're willing to go for a wall for a guy like this. Every day he comes in with the same energy, the same spirit. There's never a dull day. If he has something going on in his personal life or anything going on, you wouldn't even know it. You never see it on his face. He's just the same person every day. He's what I like to call an everyday guy. He's the same way every day, and that's just a coach I love to play for.
Well, I feel like that's kind of what you are as a player too, right? An
Right.
everyday guy. I mean, you
Right.
take pride in that energy. Your old coach Quentin Farrell called you a dog. I heard also when you were in high school, um, and you had a 3.0 leaving Presbyterian, but when you're in high school, you had a job as a senior while you were playing. And go ahead, what were you doing? What was your
Yes,
job,
sir.
and what
So
was it like?
So what was going on around that time? I was just staying with my dad, and it was getting around that time where slack needed to be picked up. So I had to go pick up a job. I was working at the Marriott on Best Road, right by the airport, and
Yeah.
I'm working. So in high school, I took all dual enrollment classes, so I didn't necessarily have school. The only class I had was a gym class, and that was like with my high school coach, and he taught the class. So along that time, at 9 o'clock in the morning, some kids are in math or in English. I'm in the hotel, stripping bed sheets, changing pillowcases from 9 to 5. And then on the flip side of days like that, when I go to have practice, from 11 to 1, I'm rushing to the Marriott to work from 3 to 11. So I'm working a full-time job throughout this, doing that. And so when the season started, up in November, I couldn't do the Marriott every day because it was wearing on my body, but I still took into accountability. I said, I still got to find a way to do something. So I started working delivery at Jimmy John's. It was about 5 minutes away from the school. I was like, hey, on weekends, high school, you only play the Tuesdays and Fridays, maybe a Saturday on a good day. So I'm making sure, okay, I know we play Tuesday. That next Wednesday when I wake up, I got to go make some deliveries because I really don't got a lot of class. So I feel like, being able to work jobs like that and still work out has just, been an ultimate blessing to me. It's just been showed me. I feel like that's why I played the way I do now. Being able to go through such adversity at such a young age, and now that I'm in a position now with, the NIL out here and just being able to play basketball, I'm just so blessed and just so honored to be in this position.
Well, I mean, you also got a taste of what life is like when the ball's going to stop bouncing, right? Like at some point,
Oh,
you're going to have to
yes,
get like a regular old job, right? And
yes,
and so
yes.
now, do you have like a level of appreciation? I'm going to enjoy this for as long as it lasts.
And you know what? I feel like you just said it the best because, when at every job I had, I was the youngest person. I especially want to stay at the hotel. And as I'm working there with, older people every single day, it was this guy, man. His name was Mr. Willie. Mr. Willie, man, I think he was about like 70 years old. And I'm like, you're still here at the hotel, stripping bed sheets, but he comes in every day with a positive attitude, ready to work. He walked me through my first steps, taught me how to strip the bed for the first time at the hotel, just, took me through the ropes. And just seeing a guy like that, at 70 years old, still in the hotel, working his butt off every day. It just showed me that I'm blessed to do what I'm able to do right now. There's people out here who would love to be in my position right now. So I have a high level of appreciation for people who are, working those 9 to 5 jobs every day. Because, me getting that little taste of it showed me that, it's not the easiest thing to wake up and do every day. But, people still get up and do it. So for me to just be able to bounce this ball and play the sport I love is amazing.
Kory, what do you want to do down the road when you retire? I
So
assume you want to play as long as you can. What do you want to do life after basketball? Any idea yet?
That's the biggest thing. So right now I'm majoring in early childhood education. So with that, along them lines, I would just love to, mentor kids in a way, especially back from where I'm from, being from the south side of Atlanta, Georgia, being able to open up recreation centers and have a lot of youth days and, just college park days, just days around the city to where, I can give my testimony to kids around that time because I know around this age, like I feel like the most pivotal point in a kid's life is around that elementary school time to middle school. I feel like you'll know the type of kid you are once you get throughout that age, and in high school, that's the person you're going to be throughout life. Everybody can change, but I feel like elementary sets the foundation of the type of kid that you're going to be. So if I can get my hands on the kids, along that time and, talk to them and preach to them a little bit, I feel like that'd be the best thing for me to do.
So you said you're from Atlanta. That's SEC country, right?
Yes, sir.
Big football area, right?
Yes,
What
sir.
do people
And
that live in Atlanta tend to be? They root for what football team
And
in
so this and
college?
this is the hardest thing for me that that people have to say about me. Everybody from the city of Atlanta loves Georgia. You're
Of
either a
course.
Bulldogs fan, you love the Falcons,
Yeah.
and you root for the Hawks no matter what, and you love the Braves. That's just how it goes, point blank and simple. And occasionally, you love Tech when they're doing good. Now, the biggest thing with me that people don't like, I'm a Bama fan. I'm a Roll Tide. I'm a Roll Tide all day. I'm a Roll Tide all day. And before anybody tries to hop on that bandwagon train, I was in Miami because I was born in Miami. So I've been down there a lot. All my family's down there. When I go down there, I was just seeing. I saw Amari Cooper at a young age, and so I'm like, whatever team he plays for, I'm watching. So in 2010, when he's playing with AJ McCarron and they're winning national championships, I've just been a fan all along. But I don't hear enough of it every time I go back home. They just hate that I love the rival.
It's pretty good. Uh, you've given us a lot about your background. Give me one more thing that people don't know about you, Kory. Maybe something, again, it could be something else that you've gone through adversity wise, or just something about you other than I know you eat, fruit snacks like they're going out of style.
Oh yeah, you have to. But I feel like, and that's a great question. I feel like the biggest thing that's been the changing point in my basketball career, that everybody should know is I want to take it back to eighth grade. Eighth grade, this was my first year, playing on the circuit. I just got picked up. I went to a recreation center one day in DeKalb and met, we just played FAU, Cannon Carlisle, my guy. His dad invited me to come play for TSF. Now on this TSF MAC team, it's not your regular AAU team when you look back. You have Isaiah Collier who's playing for the Jazz. You have Cannon Carlisle. You have LT Overton who's playing for Alabama right now. You have Bryce Thornton who's playing for Florida. You have Pierce Spurlin who's playing at Georgia. He's a tight end.
Wow.
Stephon Castle who's playing for the Spurs. This is the team I'm playing on. So now you
Man,
would have to think that in this position I'm in, I'm like, I just got invited to play for this team. I'm eagerly ready. Now I'm going the whole summer. I'm going to Pennsylvania, Boston. We're playing 3 games. I may have played like 2 minutes the whole tournament.
really.
Yeah, so I mean, you put me in a situation like that. Not saying that I wasn't good enough to play, but I feel like that's what created. I was one of those guys who I had to wait my turn. So I know how it feels to sit on the bench and be one of those guys who have to wait their turn. And respectfully so. You can look at it what all these guys are doing. Isaiah's currently just the fastest player, to reach 500 assists for the Jazz. Stephon won Rookie of the Year. So I was definitely in a position where I had to wait my turn. But being able to go back to Luella High School in ninth grade, I feel like that was the foundation and the setting stone of my basketball career. It was a school in Henry County, small 4A school, but it allowed me to be a freshman to play varsity right away, win freshman of the year, make many mistakes, and then come back my sophomore year, go to the same school, win first team all region in that region, win sophomore of the year, win so many different awards. And I feel like that moment right there was the ultimately like the changing point and turning point in my career being because that was a feeling I never wanted to feel again. Going the whole summer, everybody's posting their highlight tapes. I can't post anything. I don't really have anything to post, but
Yeah.
we're winning. So I'm appreciative to be around a bunch of good guys, who made me better every day and went to practice and showed up like because I knew practice was my time. I'm going to pray a lot in practice. I'm going to be on the second team, getting a lot of reps. So I got to take advantage of that. Being able to be around great players like that ultimately just shaped my career in a great way to, just learn how to play the game, take bits and pieces from other guys. And I feel like that was the biggest thing a lot of people don't know about me that when I went to play with TSF, like when I go back home, they're like, oh, you're playing for the best team in Georgia, but I'm not playing. And that's not a lot of things people knew. So, I mean, I feel like that was just a great experience to just be able to go through that. And I feel like it shaped me to be the player I am today.
Yeah. Well, listen, Kory, it's been a lot of fun to talk to you, man. It's been a lot of fun to get to know you. We're going to be rooting for you guys down there in Fairfax. So best of
Hey
luck the rest of
Kory,
the
hey
season.
Kory, when you do retire in whatever it is, 10, 12 years, do me a favor, call me because we might need another host. Rob's Rob's kind of struggling a little bit at times, and you are elite at this, my man.
Yes, sir.
Your numbers on the court are good, but man, you crushed it with this on the A-10 pod, and I think Rob would agree with that. You could take it up a level.
Yes, sir. I'll definitely be sure to hit you up.
The only thing I'll say is you might need to call me because Goodman's 67 right now, and in 10 years we don't know where he's going to end up being. Kory,
don't let the gray hair fool you, Kory. I'm not
Yes,
67.
Sir.
I'm only
still
54.
looking young. Still looking young.
Exactly. Thanks, sir.